Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome to this week's episode of the Podiatry Legends Podcast. Podcast designed to help you feel, see, and think differently about the podiatry profession. With me today is Kyle Richardson. He's a local lad in Cairns. He owns FNQ Podiatry and Orthotics. Now, Cairns, in case you don't know, is in Queensland. It's my backyard. It's where I live. Kyle moved to Cairns about 2015, or that's when he set up his business, and he is a local of Cairns as well, a legendary hockey player. But since opening up his clinic, he now has 19 staff, 9 or 10 podiatrists running around the place, and he is doing extremely well, which is why I wanted to get him on the podcast, talk a little bit about his career, and we have some very similar thoughts on how to improve the podiatry profession. So Kyle, how are you doing today?
Great, Tyson. Thank you very much for having me. I've been a long-term listener of the podcast, and it's a bit surreal to be sort of sitting on the other side of it. So yeah, thank you very much.
It'll be even funny when you sit back and you listen back to yourself. And a lot of people too, they listen back to it and in the end they go, oh, I was pretty good.
I'm not sure if that'll happen today, but we'll see.
Oh, that's right. I did get that right. You're a local to Cairns, weren't you? You were born and bred up here?
Yeah, up on the Atherton Tablelands. Yep, grew up there and then moved down to Brisbane when I finished high school. When was that? That was in 2006. I moved down in 2007. And then we were down in Brisbane for 9 years and then moved back up in 2015.
Okay, let's go back. So you finished school. Did you go down to Brisbane because you were studying podiatry?
Combination podiatry mainly and then sport as well. But yeah, I was probably a little bit different to most podiatrists. I knew that podiatry was the direction that I wanted to head in pretty much from year 10.
Okay.
My first goal of playing cricket or hockey for Australia, that was the chances of that happening was quite slim. So I thought, hang on a minute, I need to look at something different here.
Have a backup plan.
Yeah, that's right. And actually, ironically, it was Hayley Patterson who was working for you at the time.
Yeah.
She played for the same hockey club as myself. I really respected Hayley. She's a great person. And yeah, we had some chats as I was through the lower years of high school, and she explained to me what podiatry was all about, mainly the biomechanical and sports side of the profession. And I thought it sounded like a pretty good idea. I was tossing up between podiatry and physio, but I really liked how podiatry was such a niche, focused area of the body. So yeah, so I'd give it a go and haven't looked back.
So I didn't realize that. I knew you and Hayley knew each other through hockey. But I didn't know it was Hayley that actually inspired you to become a podiatrist.
Yeah. So I hadn't even heard about podiatry up until that point. I was lucky I didn't have any foot and lower limb issues. So yeah, it wasn't until I had a good chat to her. I did a little bit of research. I remember looking up some podiatry clinics in the bigger cities and seeing what they were doing and thought, oh yeah, that's up my alley. I was always one of those kids that were just obsessed with sport, any type of sport. I was all about it. Loved the whole idea of sport itself, mainly team sports.
Yeah.
So I knew I wanted to have something to do with that. And then, plus as well, always wanted to try and help people achieve their goals. Yeah, it was definitely health and sport. And then, that's why I wanted to look into podiatry.
So did you always have plans of moving back to Cairns, or was that something that you were in Brisbane for a period of time and you went, I don't like it down here in the bigger city, I want to go back, because Cairns is a beautiful place?
Yeah, it was always the plan. I actually moved down with my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife. So we met in year 12 through hockey in Cairns. So she's a local. We moved down there. We didn't really have a time frame in mind. And we love Brisbane. Brisbane was fantastic.
Yeah.
Great lifestyle. It's just one big country town, really. We met some fantastic people, but we're quite outdoorsy. We love fishing, love camping, love the outdoors. So yeah, it was always one of those things that it was always our plan to move back up, and it's the best decision that we ever made. Like once again, we love Brisbane. And the biggest thing that we miss about Brisbane itself is the people that we met. We've got a lot of close friends down there, but the beauty is these days it's a 2-hour flight. So they often come up, we go down there, and it works well. But Cairns it's a beautiful city, and I feel like Cairns now, as opposed to 10, 15 years ago, is very different. It's got the nice restaurants. It's got a reasonable nightlife. So it's got a lot of the things that a bigger city provides, but then it's also got the added benefit of, being able to drive 2 hours and you're out in the bush. You can head out the reef fishing. You can go exploring. And I might be a little bit biased, but I think we live in the best part of the world.
Yeah, I grew up Brisbane Gold Coast area, and I moved up here in 92. And when I first got here, I must admit, when I first got here, I did not fall in love with the place. But then The longer I stayed here, the more I love the climate. But I've been here 32 years and there's no way I'm ever moving. It's
Mm,
got everything you could get in a capital city except
mm.
Betty's Burger.
Yeah,
It's,
and you love your burgers.
I love my burger, so there's no Betty's Burger here yet, but I reckon it won't be too long. But the thing is, it's just like you said, there's restaurants, there's so much about Cairns, which is amazing.
Mm. Yeah, that's right. If you if there is an itch that you need to scratch, if you want to go to a festival or if you want to go to a footy game, you just plan it and make a holiday out of it, and 2 hours, 3 hour flight, you're there. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
like you said, Brisbane, which I classed as the second best city in Australia, yeah, it's only a 2 hour flight.
Mm.
And that's what surprises me with a lot of podiatrists when they graduate. Why? And Alan Crawford, when he was the head of the podiatry department back in the day, and he used to say, I don't understand why people graduate and they keep staying in southeast Queensland or around the capital cities when there's so much opportunity in regional and remote areas where they're screaming for podiatrists and the lifestyle is so much better. Like Cairns, Townsville, Mackay, all those areas, you're a 2 hour flight back to a capital city
Yeah.
where you can catch up with all your friends, do whatever you want, but then go back and have a fantastic lifestyle
Yeah.
and do podiatry.
Yep. Yep. Agreed. 100%.
So there we go. So we're promoting this to all the new and recent graduates. Get out of the capital cities, go and move to regional areas and actually enjoy life.
Yeah. Get some fresh air.
I recently did the last reboot and had a group of podiatrists up here. And a lot of them were all saying the same thing. I don't know why we don't come up here more often. When there's cheap airfares, we don't just jump on a plane, come up here for a few
Mm.
days. Because they said it was a fantastic location, especially to run the event.
Yep. Yep. That's right. Particularly this time of year. It's been a little bit cold up here for us locals lately. It's gotten below 15 degrees a few times. So the jumpers have come out.
Oh yeah, I've had all my
But
hoodies out.
yeah, that's right. And sure, it gets hot in summer, but it's one of those things where we're lucky in our profession, and most people, we live in an aircon house. You drive to work in an aircon car. You
Yeah.
work in an aircon office all day. It's not like we're screwing roofs on.
Oh, no, I
So
couldn't do that.
I honestly think it's the 4 months of the year that it's quite hot. It's worth it for the beautiful weather the rest of the year.
Yeah, no, totally agree. So after you did podiatry, okay, I'll go back a step. When you started doing podiatry, and it was because of the sports and the biomechanics and maybe orthotics, because that's what got me into it, that whole area as well. How did you find it when all of a sudden you realized you had to do routine foot care, clipping the odd toenail and digging out corns, callus and all that? How did you know that was part of it as well?
I did, yeah. As part of my early research, I looked at all aspects of the profession, and the quickest thing I realised, though, it seems out of all the allied health professions that were available, podiatry was so broad scope. And I actually spoke to a few other podiatrists at the time, and they basically said, you can take your career the direction that you want to take it in. So if you want to be 100% sports pod, you can be 100% sports pod. If you want to do 100% routine care, you can go that way. Or if you want to blend. So that was the other area that interests me. And yeah, look, when it came to routine care, I quite enjoyed it. It certainly wasn't a passion of mine, but it wasn't something that I dreaded, because at the end of the day, simple things like that, even if it is taking an ingrown toenail out, it is providing great care to that patient that can improve their comfort and improve their quality of life. So it certainly wasn't something that I turned my nose on or anything like that. It certainly didn't sway me from my passion of the sports side of it, but it was just one of those things that in the early parts of my career, particularly, I knew that those fundamentals that you learn when you're seeing a routine care patient, often that then leads into a few musculoskeletal sort of conditions. Like if you've got someone in front of you with chronic forefoot corns, okay, you're not just going to treat those corns, you're going to work out what's the cause of these corns. Is there anything that we can do from a footwear point of view that can get rid of them so that they don't have to come in every 6 weeks? So yeah, it's all part of it.
Yeah, and I think it's important too. And I always find the same thing. I didn't dislike routine care. I just disliked some of the patients that were attached to those feet.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that's where people get confused when they're talking about, I just like MSK or orthotic type work, and I don't like routine care. I think sometimes when they think routine care, it's some of the types of patients that come with that. And if you're bulk billing, if you're only getting EPC referrals from GPs, if you're working in medical centers, then the quality of patients coming through can be not the best. And
Yeah.
therefore, you're not seeing the MSK work. You're seeing a lot more routine, but sometimes the attitude of those patients is what's turning you off. It's not the work you're doing, it's who's attached to the work.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. And you're sitting there giving those patients advice to try and improve their quality of life. And you can tell straight away, a lot of them, it's through one ear out the other.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if they're not buying in and they don't want to help themselves, it is really hard to stay motivated. Quite very early on in my career, I knew I did not want to go down the high risk and wound care side of, I definitely don't like treating. That is the one part of the profession that I do not enjoy. And hats off, the high risk podiatrist.
Oh, I can't do it either.
It's such a vital role, and it's definitely required. But thanks, but no thanks. It's when you know you're trying to help that patient and they're going to walk out, you got that poorly controlled diabetic with all the health conditions in the world. You're telling them what they need to do to fix their foot, and they're going to walk out and have a packet of cigarettes and drink a bottle of rum, and it would be very frustrating. And then seeing you do all that work and treat that wound, and then all of a sudden 2 months later they're back in with the same issue, it would be frustrating.
Yeah, I just couldn't do it. We're very similar. My wife actually says that because we've seen what you've been doing in Cairns and how you built your clinic, and we've watched a lot of your videos, and Kristen just goes, Kyle's very similar to you. And even you just saying that about the whole high risk and ulcers and your attitude towards patients, we're a very similar way of thinking.
Yep.
And there's a lot of podiatrists like that, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we need the ones that like that high risk feet.
Yeah, it's so important. So important. Yeah. And it's a growing area as well. I remember when I moved back up to Cairns, I think there was 1 or 2 podiatrists in the high risk foot team. I think they've now got a team of 7 or 8. It's going to be an area that needs continued improvement moving forward.
Yeah. So when you graduated and you decided to work, where'd you work when you first graduated?
Yes, I worked for Just Podiatry at the time, who was later amalgamated with Queensland Orthotics and Podiatry.
Okay.
So they had a almost like a bit of a satellite model where they had 4 or 5 different clinics around Brisbane. And a lot of them were working out of medical centres. They had 1 clinic sort of standalone. And I was thrown in the deep end to a certain degree, but also supported at the same time. A lot of the times I was doing my own billing and things like that as a new grad, which when I look back now, it really sets myself up. Treating a patient is one thing, but also as a new grad, understanding, your private health funds, veteran affairs, EPCs, how all that background stuff worked. Yes, it was full on in the first sort of 6 months, but it allowed me to see all aspects of the industry and then also appreciate the admin side of it. And what happened was I moved out to Manly, which is out on the Bayside there in Brisbane. And they didn't have a clinic there at the time, but they thought, okay, there's a bit of an opening there. So I think when I was 3 years out, they opened up a clinic at Manly and basically said they allowed me to be a shareholder. They said, okay, here's the clinic. We're going to help coach you on how to open up a clinic and promote it. And that really was the game changer for me. It really, and made a lot of mistakes. 100%. I sort of look back now at some of the marketing material that we put out and the things that we were doing, and you've got to shake your head. But I think it was one of those things where it allowed me to cut my teeth. And so when I eventually moved back up to Cairns and opened FNQ Podiatry and Orthotics, definitely still made mistakes.
Even right up to when I sold my clinic in 2016, I was still making mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's how you learn when it comes to marketing your business or running your business or working with the team. You learn by doing. You learn by taking action. It's only till you take action that you get some new information that you can go, that was good. That wasn't so good. Try not to do that again. So it's just part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's right. So I really enjoyed that actually. It was nice having a clinic just down the road from home. I felt like at that point in my career, it was 3 to 4 years in. I felt like clinically things were starting to click. I was ready for that next challenge. And I guess the guys helping guide me, okay, this is how you go to a medical center and hold a lunch and do a presentation and talk about the areas of podiatry that you're passionate about, how to go to a physio clinic. So it was that really, in the first 3-4 years, that was the biggest career changer for me.
So so you were a part owner of that clinic. Did you then have to sell that when you moved, or are you still a part owner in that?
No, that was before the amalgamation. So when that happened and Just Podiatry merged with Queensland Orthotics and Podiatry, Queensland Orthotics and Podiatry at the time was a much bigger business. So that they absorbed that business. I was paid out my share. And then I, more stepped back into a senior podiatrist role. There was the opportunity to potentially buy in. But once again, myself and my wife, we always knew that moving back up to Cairns was something that we were interested in. And sooner rather than later, we decided to pull the trigger. And it all happened quite quickly. I think it was the February of 2015 that we decided to move up. And I think we moved up end of May that year and got the ball rolling.
Weren't you advised by somebody not to set up in Cairns?
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't me, and it wasn't me. We were talking about it. I remember when you first moved to Cairns, and I think Paul Butterworth had something happening in Cairns, and we both went along to it. And it's the first time we'd met, and we're chatting away, and we had a mutual podiatrist who we thought was a bit of a tool. And you said, he sent you a message, said, there's not enough room in Cairns for another podiatrist. And he was the same one that told me that he didn't need to market himself. And look where we both are now, and where he is.
Look, it was. I remember it was like it was yesterday. Myself and she was my wife at the time. We'd packed up our townhouse. I'd already flown up to Cairns and done some in-services and things, and started dropping off business cards and flyers. So we literally packed up our whole life. We were driving up to Cairns that very next day, and getting that phone call completely out of the blue. Introduced himself, who he was, and basically said, I'm a podiatrist in Cairns. I just wanted to let you know that you're not making a very good decision. There's no work up here. You'll be out of business. And at the time, I just thought this was a podiatrist in Cairns reaching out and saying, hey, there's literally no work. And I looked at my wife and I'm thinking, what are we doing? Should we just abort this plan and just keep doing what we're doing? Fast forward a few months, I very quickly realized that wasn't necessarily a very reliable source that it was coming from. But it was an eye-opener, that's for sure. And it was very much along the lines of, I've tried for 2 or 3 years to find podiatrists to work up here, and I just can't. You'll end up just working 60 hours a week and not get anything out of it.
And I think that comes down to the mindset of the podiatrist. So when I first came to Cairns, this particular podiatrist was just giving me a hard time constantly. And I just didn't worry about him. I just kept doing my own thing. Just ran my own race, just kept doing my own thing. And as the years went on, my business kept growing, expanding, and everything was going great.
Yeah.
His business stayed the same. It never changed. In fact, it probably went backward. And then you turned up and then you just ruined his mojo completely. You took all his patients.
Yeah, we haven't had too much interaction since then.
Yeah, we have no sympathy for the guy, do we?
No, that's right. No, exactly. Yeah, look, it was one of those moments where we had that conversation. What are we doing? But we're like, no, we're going to back ourselves here. Like,
that's good.
We knew that this was our goal. We've always wanted to do this. Let's go all in and see what happens. So glad we ended up going over it.
Yeah, and I tell people that too, that if there's somewhere where you really want to set up a business, you look at the area, the type of people that are there, and you go, I want to set a clinic up there. And even if there's already an existing clinic, which is big, like when you moved into town, my clinic was big, but it didn't put you off, which I think that's what people don't get put off by somebody who's been there for a lot longer, who's well established. That usually is a sign there's a lot more work in town if you're willing to put the effort in.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is as well, is if a new clinic comes to town, they're professional in how they do things. They're out promoting podiatry. That's going to raise the bar for podiatry in that area. It's not just, they're promoting their own business, but it's going to get word out about podiatry. Any good marketing is good marketing for the profession.
Yeah, I think so. Wasn't that funny? Remember when we met that night, we were talking, and I said, we should really be like professional fighters. When you're actually in the ring, which is like your 8:30 to 5:30. Yeah, you got your business, I've got my business. I said we should be like professional boxers. You're in there and you're dancing around and you're doing what you're paid to do. I said, but as soon as that's finished and you step outside the ring, there's no reason why you cannot get on, be friendly, be civil to each other, and try and promote the profession as a profession, and then you're both going to benefit from it.
Yeah. No, that's right.
I hate seeing podiatrists argue with each other. Oh, it just shits me. It don't need it.
Unhealthy. That's right. There's no good things come from that.
Imagine
be working together.
If I still had my clinic now and you had yours, and now our clinics are across the road from each other,
They are. Yep.
Imagine if I still had mine, you had yours, and we still had this same mentality, how much we would be pushing each other.
Mm.
It
Yeah,
would
that's
be,
right. Yeah.
I always say that to my wife, I go, oh, I missed out. I said, we could have had so much fun. That if, it just would have been, you would have been coming up with something, I've gone, oh, you clever bugger. So then I would have come up with something. And
Yeah.
we would have just kept lifting the bar for each other. And all the other podiatrists in town would have gone into corners and cried, thinking, well, will they just stop? So what do you think? So you've done that, you set up your business, everything's been going really well, which I think is great. But you always say that you're also very passionate about the next generation of podiatrists and making sure that they're starting their careers the right way, which I think is a really important thing, that it's good for us all to set up our businesses. Make money may not be the goal, but you have a successful business, but it's then giving back or trying to help the next generation come through.
Yep. Yeah, and I know you're on a lot of the group forums and online these days with podiatry, and there's just so much negative chat about burnout, new grads getting put into these positions where they're promised everything and nothing is delivered. They end up seeing that they're 20, 25 patients a day, there's no supervision, and they're getting paid absolutely peanuts to do the job. And you wonder why there's burnout in the profession. But look, I really think that I genuinely feel like these new graduates that are coming out now, there's never been a better time to be a podiatrist. We all know that right now the biggest factor in our profession is job shortage, as with most professions, both professional and non-professional in Australia. It's finding staff. But I genuinely think it's going to be a positive, because those clinics that weren't treating their staff well, they weren't in professional businesses, clinics, everything like that, doing all the things right, they're going to have to lift their game. Otherwise, they're going to get caught out. So it's one of those things where I think, the same conversation as you said before. If everyone's working together and striving to raise the bar, the profession as a whole is going to win. New graduates are going to win, because I genuinely do believe that podiatry is such a great profession. There's so many positive things to it. Yes, financial rewards, like from an allied health point of view, if podiatrists are on the right contracts and things like that, and employers are doing the right things, they should be one of the highest allied health professional paid role in Australia.
Definitely.
So I think it's definitely heading in the right direction. But I feel like a lot more needs to be done. I feel like compared to a lot of the other allied health professions that are more established, I feel like, say, physio, for example, is considered a more prestigious role.
I couldn't take the pay cut.
Yeah. And and that does frustrate me, because I can see, how good podiatry can be. It's definitely heading in the right direction, but I think all podiatrists need to work together to continue to promote it. And new graduates now, they've got the ability to be able to sit back and look at multiple job offers, and not just necessarily take the first one that's offered to them. And they need to sit back and think, okay, what do I want to achieve out of this role? Is it financial remuneration the first 2 years? If so, great, go that way.
Yeah.
Is it mentorship, or is it a combination of both? And the beauty is, often new grads now, they can probably choose between 5, 6 roles. So I'd like to think that moving forward, new grad burnout should be a lot less, because they're able to go into roles that they think they're going to be best suited to. And if they're not suited to it, the reality is, if they're not happy and they go to their employer and they're under delivering on what was promised, within 24 hours, they could probably have another role somewhere else. I think it's a very exciting time for the profession.
Yeah, well, I tell all new graduates that don't chase the money, even though that's exactly what I did when I graduated. So I'm saying don't do that, because I can tell you from experience, it doesn't work. If you chase the money, it doesn't work. I was just fortunate. I met a podiatrist called Chris Wilson, who took me under his wing. He had a clinic on the Gold Coast as well, and we just became really good friends, and there was never any competitiveness between us, but he just taught me so much. And it made me realize, wow, it's really important to have a great mentor when you graduate, not so much great money. And then I think, but it is also one of those things, if you go somewhere because you want mentorship, you want to learn, and the employer's not living up to the contract, point it out to them, tell them. If they're still not living up to it, leave. I don't believe in breaking contracts. I think if you sign a 2-year deal and they're doing everything they said they were going to, and you think the job sucks, tough. Yeah, put on your big boy pants and just put up with it. But if they're not living up to their agreement, then I don't have a problem with people walking away from contracts either.
Yeah, there needs to be a transparent, open dialogue between the employer and the employee. And more often than not, it's probably just simple things that the employer overlooked or something like that. Sort it out, get together, work out a new plan and move forward. But certainly if you've tried that and you still feel like you're not getting the support that you need, you feel like you're not learning, at the end of the day, that's not going to be good for anyone. That's not going to be good for the business. It's not going to be good for the podiatrist, and it's not good for the profession. So yeah, I think the next 5-10 years, I really think that podiatry is just going to continue to set a higher and higher standard.
Well, like you said, it's about all the podiatrists promoting the profession and leading from the front.
Yep.
And some of the things I asked you about, do you have any talking points? And you mentioned things about podiatrists having a professional or purpose-built clinics and modern websites and having friendly admin staff and having policy and procedures and having that all in place. And I think it's really important that, like, I picture young kids finishing high school and they're looking at, oh, what am I going to do? I'm looking at physiotherapy, I'm looking at podiatry. And they see a podiatrist who's working from a back room of a medical center who is bulk billing and driving an old Datsun 180B car, but they're wearing a badge on their chest saying, oh, look, I care more about my patients than money. And a kid looking at it going, nah. Now, it looks like they're working really hard. They're not getting paid what they're worth, and they're driving a junky car. That's not a good look for the profession.
Yeah, 100%. And I really think that's the sort of age group that we need to be targeting. People coming into those, year 8, 9, 10. And first impressions are everything. If they walk in and see a podiatrist who's, in a broom cupboard up the back of a medical center, there's no admin staff, the podiatrist is there, they're doing the treatment, they're not dressed professionally, they don't seem to be passionate about their job. Those things matter.
Yeah.
And like dentistry is a great example of that. Like, when was the last time that you see a dentist in that sort of environment? Dentists have always got, generally, they've got nice purpose-built clinics, really nice fit out, everything's professional. The reality is, with our profession, as a new graduate, you can, with some, $20,000 investment, you can probably just go into a medical center and set up a little clinic. Yes, that's the easy way, but who's going to win out of that?
Yeah.
No one, and certainly not the profession. So if a year 10 student walks into a podiatry clinic it's a really nice fit out, staff are presentable, everything's professional, the staff are enjoying what they're doing, and I'm quite biased. Obviously, my passion is more the sport and musculoskeletal side of the profession. You've got a gym, you're getting them on the treadmill, you're videoing them, you're using cutting edge technology. If I was a year 10 student, I'd be thinking, okay, that's something that I would consider, as opposed to the biggest thing that really frustrates me is, what do you do? I'm a podiatrist. Oh yeah, I used to go to a podiatrist with my grandmother and get her corns removed. That's what podiatry is. And yes, that's a part of it, but there's so much more. And as part of my role now and over the last 9 years since we've had the business, a lot of it is getting out to medical centers and physios, and particularly medical centers with GPs, and actually saying, hey, this is what an MSK podiatrist does.
Yeah.
I needed an in-service at a medical center last year, and there were 2 GP registrars there. And I did a whole presentation on chronic plantar heel pain syndrome. And I got to the end and I asked if there were any questions. And the 2 registrars were there saying, why are you talking about this? You're a podiatrist. Isn't that physio? Podiatrist, I just thought it was just diabetes. And that for me, it was just like a light bulb moment, thinking, wow, we've got a lot more work to do as a profession. These are the new GPs that are coming through that would potentially be referring patients to.
Okay, just let people know that, as usual, I don't like AirPods, and Kyle's AirPods just died in the ass. So now we're just using the speakers from his computer. Continue. You were talking about the GPs, the in-service.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in that podiatrist should be the go-to profession for anyone with any foot mole in pain, whether that be an acute ankle sprain, stress fracture, anything like that. we need to get out there and promote the profession to GPs mainly and saying, hey, if you've got someone in front of you with these issues, refer to the podiatrist. They deal with that day in, day out.
Yeah.
And obviously it needs to be the right podiatry clinic. If you're a podiatry clinic that is more routine care related, different story, but I'm mainly referring to the MSK side of the profession. If we can really continue to work on that area, and you can imagine how, I don't know the numbers, but you imagine how many MSK podiatry clinics there are through Australia. If they get out there and do an in-service once a month even to local GPs, that's a fairly broad spread. And it's only going to continue to build on that profession because, I really think they're the people that we should be targeting, those adolescents when they're in those years where they're thinking, what do I want to do? If we can get in front of them, show, hey, I want to be that person. I want to do that job for the rest of my life. That's where I think we'll reap the rewards.
Yeah, but it's one of those things. This is when I blame the association for being soft. When they have a lot of opportunity where they can promote the sexy parts of podiatry. And even though, yes, not every podiatrist does all the sexy parts, but that is what's going to make other professions look at us a little bit different. They know we cut toenails. They know we treat also high-risk feet. They know that already. Yeah. So start promoting what they don't know. And even though not every podiatrist does that, but that's what's going to grab the attention. And I've got a family here in Cairns that I'm really close to. And 3 of their 4 kids so far are all doing medicine. But they're all patients of mine as well. And I said to them, you 3 are going to be awesome doctors in the future because of the exposure you've had with podiatry your whole life. And they said, well, actually, I didn't realize that when they talk about podiatry to other students, they just going like, no idea what you're talking about. Don't they just cut toenails? So to me, I think the profession, and I've said this to them in the past, and sometimes they go, oh yeah, but we don't want to ruffle any feathers. I'm going, no, it's feather ruffling time. Stop being soft and, we don't want to upset the physios. Upset them, who cares? They're physios. They get upset really easy anyway.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where whether it's upsetting them or not, I think we don't need to have that concern. Like physios do their thing, we do it. And I think we need to look after the profession ourselves. And when you think about it, what year 9 student is sitting there or year 10 student at a careers expo and thinking, I want to cut nails for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And that's no disrespect.
The weird ones, the really weird 14 and 15-year-olds that are sitting there go, I just want to cut toenails and dig stuff out. Oh, yeah.
And certainly no disrespect because we, as part of our clinic, we do routine care in combination with the MSK side of it. So there's no disrespect there because it's vital. But what I'm saying is, exactly what you just said. We need to promote the sexy side of the profession. And that's where we're starting to see, that's where we'll start to see recruitment and pre-university numbers increase. And who knows, they might start that profession, start the degree and get halfway through and think, MSK side of it's cool, but they might develop a passion for routine care, diabetic care, high-risk foot clinic. But the key is getting people into the profession. That's the first part. But then, if those first few years that when they graduate, if they don't live up to the expectation, they're going to leave into another industry. And that's why I think it's so important for new grads. The first 2 or 3 years, if they can go to a clinic that has a dedicated mentorship program that lives up to its promises, it's going to set them up for career success.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to sound harsh. This might annoy a few people, but that's right. It won't annoy the people that listen to the podcast, I think. I think every podiatrist should have a good understanding of biomechanics and should have some application in the clinic, even if they are a high-risk clinic and they don't really want to be making a lot of orthotics or going down the whole sports side of things. Because it's no different if a patient came into me who had a high-risk foot, I know what I'm looking at and I know who to refer them on to. And I think in reverse, if someone has no interest in MSK, that's fine, but you need to have a good understanding of it. So that you can then refer them to a podiatrist down the road, not just go, I'm not into biomechanics, so I'm just going to give a pre-made out of my top drawer here and just see how that goes because I have no interest in it. You can imagine going to a GP and they go, no, I don't do blood pressure because I just don't like doing it. You'd be going, okay, it just wouldn't happen. So to me, it's an aspect of podiatry. Every podiatrist should have a basic understanding, and they should be applying it in some way to all their patients.
Yeah.
And if someone that has a problem, they need to refer on.
Yeah, agreed. But once again, I think it's genuinely exciting. I think if we can really all grasp this concept and work together, you imagine what podiatry can be like in 5 or 10 years' time. It's an untapped market. Yeah, so I think it's something.
Well, I'm excited to see where the profession goes, because there's clinics like your own, and like I'm old and crusty. I'm right at the back end of my career now. But I look at your clinic, and every time I travel anywhere, I always drop into podiatry clinics to go and have a look around, just see what I think.
Yeah.
And there's so many younger podiatrists coming through, just setting up really cool clinics, and they're all pushing each other to set it up. That I think the good part is a lot of the older, crustier podiatrists who are really set in the ways, who didn't change and evolve and adapt, fortunately, they're all going to be finishing over the next 10, 15 years. So the profession will just get brighter. I think overall it'll get brighter and will become more appealing to younger people coming out of school.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, agreed. 100%. And it all has a positive flow-on effect as well. So that's what we refer to as that positive hamster wheel. You have a nice professional clinic, a nice professionally run business. You're therefore able to charge slightly higher fees. Then you're able to attract the right podiatrists and pay them higher fees that they deserve. And then all of a sudden it just flows on from there. Yeah, we need to get out of that. That we don't just want to be ordinary. We want to be great. And
it doesn't take a lot to be above average. It's not, you don't have to be 100% better to be better than the average podiatrist. All you need to be is 10% better in a lot of areas, and you are going to exceed majority of podiatrists anyway. But if everybody had that attitude, if everybody just went, like one of the things you wrote down was about our daily actions. What are we doing every day that's going to help the profession just a little bit more?
Yeah. Yes, the 1%. And this is what we always talk to our new grads is you want every patient to leave your clinic room thinking, wow, that was the best health appointment that I've ever been to.
Yeah.
It was professionally ran. It was informative. They spoke to me like I was a person, not just a textbook. There's clear plans put in place, and there's a clear, okay, this is what we're working towards. And if you're striving to do that every patient you see every day, it's just going to be win-win-win.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. So if anyone wanted to reach out to you, what is the best way of getting hold of Kyle Richardson?
Yeah, probably direct email. So just kyle@fnqpodiatry.com.au. And then with our socials as well, we've got a Facebook page, FNQ Podiatry and Orthotics, and then our Instagram tag is @FNQ Podiatry.
Okay, so do you have any parting words before we wrap up? Any final bits of advice you would like to share?
I think targeted specifically at the next generation of podiatrists coming through, whether you're a new grad now or final year student, I think, and this is something that we really try and drum in, I really think the key for success in the first few years is just be really curious, be driven, and just work hard. And I think work on your best asset, and that is yourself as a person. Listen to podcasts, both within podiatry, but listen to allied health podcasts, listen to business podcasts. Really try and make sure that you're trying to be a better person and better podiatrist each day, each week. And the more dedicated that you are to your role and the more you are a sponge in those first few years, absorb everything. Don't take anything for granted. If something's explained to you and it doesn't make sense, put your hand up, ask your mentor, and go away and research yourself. Because, once again, if you can get those first 2 or 3 years post-grad, I really think that's the difference that's going to set you up for a successful career. Because I know certainly those first few years that I had and the training that I had, I personally think that's one of the reasons why we have been able to set up FNQ Podiatry and Orthotics the way that we have. So, I'm quite passionate about that.
That is fantastic advice. So, Kyle, I want to thank you for coming on the Podiatry Legends podcast. It's now official that you are a legend. And since you live locally, I'll be easy, just drop a T-shirt into you.
Yeah, that'll be good. Yeah,
everybody else, Yeah.
Look forward to repping that.
And some of the other people listening to this will go, hang on, where's my frigging t-shirt? Oh, I haven't posted any for a while, but I'm going to get some hats done, some Podiatry Legends hats. I've got some, but I need to get some more done. So
Yeah.
I'll talk to you off air which one you want. Okay, Kyle. So thanks for coming here. I have really enjoyed this. This has been great.
No worries, Tyson. Thanks again. I've really enjoyed it.